Hey, I wanted to give you a recap of my COVID road trip from Florida to New Brunswick. So I'm just popping in to share a little bit about that. I am currently under isolation, a week in, and for some of you who know me, I enjoy going to Florida in the winter, and this was my first year of driving, and so my neighbor Val and Joe decided to drive to Florida with me. So we had a great 3.5 day excursion getting there. I unfortunately packed too many things, so when I met them in Bangor, I had to unload several things from my car and put them in Joe's car and leave them in his vehicle until they returned from Florida. They drove back from Bangor. So for those of you who know me, I have a bit of a space, time, and distance issue. I don't always figure these things out properly, so thankfully I have people that can help me with that. So I made it to Florida with my vehicle for the first time, and then with the COVID-19 outbreak, I realized that I was going to have to find someone locally in Florida to drive back with me. So I started praying for the ability to find some other great travel buddies similar to Joe and Val, and luckily I heard from Barb and Harold from Bathurst. So their flight was canceled 3 times, and so they were looking for a way home. And luckily, I was looking for someone to come with me. So we started to make a plan, and we decided we'd leave, I think, in about a week and a half. So I had plenty of groceries, so did they. And then Barb started to think it through, and she called me and said, "Can we leave in 2 days?" So that was a bit of a shock. And I said, "Great, let's do it." So we loaded and packed up, and thankfully we'd all been doing our own social distancing, so we felt comfortable in traveling together. So that was great. Again, I had too much stuff, and so I actually dropped off several bags of groceries and a couple of things that I purchased off to my friend Dan. And then I arrived to Harold and Barb's place, and I looked at what they had to bring, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is never going to work. And Harold was like I don't know, he was like this magician. He just started opening up some of my bags and placing them here and there and everywhere, and the car was absolutely full. Like we couldn't, Barb in the back seat could not put her feet down because we had the floor full. So we had a bed in the back. I had 3 bags in my passenger seat on the floor. So I actually had to get in kind of like a NASCAR driver, put both feet over the bags, and then Harold did most of the driving. So it was crazy. It looked like a clown car, like just getting into town, and then we would just like roll out, and then we'd have to kind of roll back in. So that part was interesting. We decided to pack lots of healthy groceries. So I loved, I'm gluten-free, so of course I had to pack certain things that are gluten-free, and so I decided to make a gluten-free pizza. And anyone who goes from Florida back realizes that, you know, there's that clearing out of the fridge day where you try to use up everything you have. So my pizza had some crazy things on it. I had black beans, I had tofu, I had Brussels sprouts, mushrooms, onions. What else did I have? Feta cheese. Anyway, I just filled it with all kinds of things. And I was inspired by Harold, because he had mentioned he was bringing bacon sandwiches. And I said, why are you bringing bacon sandwiches? So he learned that if you eat bacon, it can stop a number of bathroom breaks. And Barb and I, both being part of the SBG club, which is the Small Bladder Girl Club, decided that it was a good idea. So I didn't have bacon, but I decided that my frozen gluten-free pizza might have enough sodium to keep things in check. And guess what? It worked. I was amazed. Typically, the two of us would be doing 8 stops, and I think on the first day she had 2, I had 3. Like, it was insane how this worked. So I just want to thank Harold for his idea on the bacon sandwiches, because that at first made me laugh, but it was a good idea after all. The other thing about the pizza that I thought was kind of funny, we were sitting at a convenience store, and we're having like a little tailgate party by ourselves, social distancing from everybody. We were like social distancing ninjas. We would get to these places, and we had this system that, gas gloves came on, gassed up, we did the bathroom, came out, threw the gloves out, did a round of the hand wash, sanitizer, and then go. We were out of there, right? So this time we decided we were going to take a little break, and we had all the food we needed. We didn't have to buy anything during our whole trip. So we're back there in the back of the car, and I offer Harold a piece of pizza. And the next thing I know, his pizza's on the ground. And I'm like, what? So he didn't like the pizza. And I teased him because I said, you didn't have to throw it on the ground if you really didn't want to eat it. We could have had it, but I guess it probably was a mistake. I don't think he was a fan of my pizza. And Barb actually thought it was okay, and I loved it. So we also had tons of fruit and vegetables and chocolate and a case of water. We had snacks, nuts. I even made these keto buns. Like, it was great. We had everything we needed. They had a box of gloves, and we had lots of hand wash, so we were just really careful. And we did the whole opening the door with the elbow, using the foot on different levers in the bathroom. And so we had a great system in place, and we worked great together. It was amazing how we were able to work together to make this an enjoyable trip, because driving 4,000 miles over 4 days wasn't necessarily something any of us were looking forward to. So day 1, I think we drove just over 1,000 kilometers. We landed in Charleston, North Carolina, and so we laughed because we left Florida and it was 33 degrees, and we get to North Carolina, it's still 33 degrees. So we're like, hey, this is not so bad, right? And so we had this system as well when we checked in, where we get the cart, we bring everything in, we check in. I would unload things in the fridge, because we stayed at Hilton, the Hilton chain, and I think every time we had a fridge in our room. So I would unload my things in my fridge, and then I would leave, go get takeout, come back. We'd have our own meals, and then it was bedtime. Pretty much, other than the fact that one room I had didn't have a functioning tub, but the hotel was empty, so they gave me keys to another room so I could use the tub. That worked out well. But every morning we would get up, same idea. Up early, coffee. They weren't serving food, but they would give us these to-go bags. So we had fruit, granola bars, a bottle of water, and the system worked quite well. And so day 2, we drove another 1,100 kilometers, and we landed in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And so great driving conditions throughout. As we drove, we also saw these signs that kept telling people to stay inside, protect. And so that was great to see that. We saw tons of cars coming this way. And of course, I had to laugh because sometimes I would see like a whole case of toilet paper in the back seat. Like the window of a car would be following along the way. We obviously brought a roll of toilet paper, and we even thought to pack the pens just in case. We weren't sure what we were going to face, right? And so Barb, being a retired nurse, she also had some medications and things that we would need, so that worked out really well. And so, yeah, second day turned out really well. Third day, same idea. We did about the same amount of kilometers. We found out that we couldn't stay in a hotel just as soon as we crossed the border, so we made a quick decision to stay in Bangor, Maine, and we woke to I don't know, maybe 5 inches of snow in the car, so that was a bit of a surprise. So we went from 33 day 2, I think in Carlisle, it came down to like 3 degrees, and so then it's like -1 in Bangor during our last day in the States. So we I didn't have boots or anything like that, but Harold went outside and he found some a brush to clear the snow so that we could get out of there. It was tough driving on day 3 because the road was snow covered, but we knew we were getting close to home, so we were pretty excited about that. What happened next? Oh yeah, the border crossing was very pleasant. You know, we all agreed that we were going to isolate, and the process was very, very pleasant, so we were happy about that. And I think the 3 of us, when we crossed, we just had this feeling of excitement and relief, and you know, like just I even kind of gave a little bit of a squeal when we crossed the border because we were just so happy to be back in Canada. And one of the things that crossed my mind, you know, driving 4,000 kilometers over 4 days, like just there was so much intensity and focus and concentration. But what actually, some of the things that stands out in my mind that really helped is that we really worked as a team. Like, it was amazing. We followed the process. It was quite the teamwork. We laughed a lot, so that made time go by quickly. We talked a lot during the trip, which typically on a road trip I'd be reading my book, but we always wanted to have like a second pair of eyes watching the highway, and we didn't see any accidents. We didn't see, like, there was very little traffic, so it was very enjoyable from that point of view. And, you know, good spirits, healthy eating. We had, you know, rested well so that when we would get up the next day, we were, you know, very well rested and prepared. So I just wanted to share that with you. I'm so glad to be back, and I've had so many people offered to drop off groceries and supplies since my return, so I just am so happy to be back with my tribe, even though I'm not actually seeing anybody yet. I just wanted to say that I would take a road trip with these 2 any day, as well as Joe and Val. They both helped me to get to both locations safely and in good humor. So I hope that you're doing well if you're isolating, or if you are practicing the social distancing. Please pay attention to that. Let's keep safe and healthy. All right, bye for now.